Ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:30 p.m. This is the American Fork City Council for September 13th. Our agenda has been posted on the state's website as required by state law and conspicuously posted in 3 locations throughout the community. We will follow the agenda, the second amended agenda, as noticed. We'd like to mention that tonight's meeting is being streamed live for you young men that are here for the purpose of scouting. I'll have you come forward in a few minutes and tell us your name, your rank, and your troop number and your scout leader, and we'll get your name in the minutes of the meeting so you can prove to your counselor or advisor that you were in fact in attendance at the meeting this evening. We are glad you're here. We welcome you. We'd like to begin our regular session this evening by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by prayer by Councilman Brad Frost, after which I will conduct a roll call. Would the audience please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we humbly come before Thee on this evening with gratitude for the privilege of being here. We're grateful, Heavenly Father, to live in this great country in which freedom abides, and we're grateful that we can exercise our rights this night to make decisions for this great community. We're grateful, Father, for all those who have gone before us and have laid a foundation of freedom and have been inspired through Thee to help us and to build that foundation. We pray that we might have wisdom this evening as we make decisions, that we might have good listening ears. We pray that all those who will express themselves will do so in a dignified manner, and that we might have a unified purpose in making this city a better place. We're grateful for all those who serve us, our city staff. We pray that they might always find joy in their employment and serving this great community. We are very grateful, and we express our love unto Thee. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman Frost. I will now conduct a roll call. Councilman Barnes?
Here.
Councilman Bowen?
Present.
Councilman Frost?
Here.
Councilman Shelton?
Here.
Councilman Shorter?
Here.
We have a quorum and can conduct the business of the community. I'd like at this time to invite those young men that are here for scouting purposes to come forward. The microphone is bent back. Just face the audience. Tell us your name, your rank, your troop number, and who your scout leader is, please, so we can get you in the minutes of the meeting. Go ahead.
I am Gabriel Mildenstein. I am a rank of a star, and our troop number is 811, and our scout leader is D. Warnock.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Samuel Olison. I am a first class. My scout leader is D. Warnock.
Thank you.
I am Brian Gurr. I am a Star Scout. I'm in Troop 811, and my scout leader is also D. Warnock.
Thank you.
I'm David Brown. I'm first class. My scout leader is Dean Warnock on Troop 811.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here this evening. We wish you well as you go along Scouting's trail. Invite you when it becomes a Life Scout and you're searching for an Eagle project There are many ways you can help our community. If you will work for an Eagle project that will benefit the community, there are literally hundreds of projects that you can do that will benefit your neighborhood, our community, or your school. Thank you again for being with us tonight. I see Pokemon in the back of the room. Did you know last night we had family night at the library and we had 140 people there playing Pokemon in the library, and we had different stations where you could earn Pokemon cards, and it was a huge success. So I'm happy to see that somebody is here wanting to make it all happen. At one point in time, we had a couple of locations for Pokemon in the city, and one of those locations got vandalized, and so we've been watching it very, very, very closely. So happy you're here as well. We'd now like to turn the time over to the 20-minute public comment period. We set time aside in each of our meetings. We don't have to take 20 minutes, but if it goes beyond that, I'll slow people down. But if anyone would like to address the senior staff, the mayor, the council, or any of the directorates about issues in the city, you may come to the microphone at this time and state your position. Seeing none, we will close the 20-minute public comment period, and we will go on to the council reports regarding council assignments. Would you start us off, please, Councilman Barnes?
Thank you, Mayor. I would be glad to. I have several reports. Vendeline, oh, you want to start? Okay. Let's start with that one. That is a picture that was taken early Sunday morning, which was 9/11. 313 flags, I think it was. I drew a blank all of a sudden. 343. I got the 2 3s. I should have written that number down. 9/11 obviously is an important date in the history of this country, and each one of those flags represents a fireman that was killed in the line of duty on that day. But that day also brings a lot of other things to a lot of people. So I just wanted to recognize the work of the fire department and remembering their brethren who serve with them, no matter where they serve. And I think it was great. I only wish that I could have seen it. I didn't know it was out there, and I didn't go by there on Sunday. I kind of stayed in my house. So I didn't see it, but you can see from the picture, it looks great. Thank you, Vendeline. On the 17th of this month, the Historic Preservation Committee met. There are just a couple of things that are probably of most importance in that. They're doing the work that they normally do. But the thing I wanted to really emphasize is that a week from Saturday on the 24th, between 1 and 4 p.m., they will be putting on an American Fork History celebration. This will be held at Birch & Sons horse-drawn carriage historic barn there on 700 North. And there will be a bunch of historic displays and different things out there and things for people to do. It'll be a fun little day for people to go learn a little more about the history of American Fork, and there will be no charge, and the entire public is invited and encouraged to go to that. I'll do the cemetery committee next. They met yesterday morning and are well into the planning of the Veterans Day program, which again will be held on Veterans Day, which is November the 11th, and it will be held in the Alpine Tabernacle. So we don't have the program put together yet to release, but that will be taking place. And then the last one, I wanted to talk a little bit about parks and recreation. Derek, let me rephrase that. When I mess this up, will you just correct me? I met with Derek yesterday and made some notes, but I'm sure I will goof them up. Just wanted to bring some updates to some of the things that are going on. First one I'm sure a lot of people have seen, and that's the mess over at the fitness center. The city employees have done a great job of taking out a whole bunch of cement and lawn and other things so that that parking lot can be expanded. And that includes part of the new driving lanes that will be put in and everything else, correct? And there used to be some horseshoe pits there. They are now at Rotary Park. My understanding is this Saturday will be their first official tournament at that location. The master plans for the boat harbor are pretty much existing and things are moving ahead. I wanted to point out that there will be 2 of these permanent toilet facilities, outhouses, whatever you want to call them, that will be installed with park tax money, and one of those will be at the boat harbor. The other one will be at Evergreen Park. Should be here within a month or two. 1 month? About a month. The city does the prep work, gets the cement already and everything, and then they bring them in and hoist them up with a Tonka crane and put them in place, and away they go. So pretty quick job when it gets to that point, and we're looking forward to those. And those are a couple of the projects that are ongoing for the parks people. And I think mid-October, yep, I think. Okay, that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks for that report, Councilman. Councilman Bowen?
Yeah, just a few items, Mayor. First of all, this Saturday is Constitution Day, September 17th, and just wanted to express my gratitude for that document and the wisdom of those who established it. It's a document that limits government in the interest of protecting individual citizen liberties, and I think that that's unique to our country in a lot of ways, and one of the things that distinguishes us, or has distinguished us, and continues to do so, and I'm thankful for the Constitution and for the Bill of Rights. Also wanted to commend the police department for reaching out to the public. Attended their event and saw the different stations they had, and I thought they did a great job of putting a friendly face on police. I've always felt like you should have a police department where when you see a police officer, you're thankful, not full of dread, because really they are there to help us as citizens, as a society. And I think if you have a good police department, that'll be the case, that you'll be glad to see an officer, not afraid of an officer. Of course, the bad guys, we want them to still be afraid because they know they're doing something wrong. But everyone else, we're just regular citizens. And I just thought it was noteworthy that they held an event to reach out to the public. Also, since we last met, our city administrator has resigned, and I just wanted to thank Craig for the work he did do. Craig Whitehead was our city administrator for several years, and I think he did a lot of good while he was here at the city, and I publicly express that. I'm thankful for the good things that he was able to do. I also congratulate the interim administrator, and wish her well also. And I believe that's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Frost?
Well, I just feel like echoing what they have said, but just if I could make a couple additions to some thoughts that I had. I was there on Sunday morning, and I saw that display. That's a great picture of it, and it was very touching. It was very sacred to be in the Seasons Memorial Garden. I feel like that is a place now that we've found where people can express themselves in a little different manner, and it's found a home for such things as this. And if you looked closely, the granite wall was draped in black. The Statue of Responsibility had a black bow on it, and it was just a very fitting setting to be able to show respect for those of 9/11. So thank you to the fire department for that. I just wanted to report as well, I had the opportunity this afternoon to go with a caravan up to Mary Ellen's Gulch, up in the headwaters of American Fork Canyon. There were, I don't know, I could just probably count maybe 40, 50 people. Many state officials. I rode up with a gentleman from the governor's office, oil, gas, and mines, and somebody from Cedar Hills, and we had a great discussion up and down. It's a very bumpy road, but in there we had Walt Baker, who is over the Division of Water Quality, participated. Members from Snowbird were there, as well as press and others that I just can't even, I'll fail to announce everybody, but it was a very productive meeting, perhaps in the fact that everybody could see it. If you can just know what's going on, it's one thing, but to actually see the site, see what's the mines look like, see the water coming out of the mines, it gives you a different perspective. And it brought everybody that was relevant to one place. And I think that was maybe the most productive thing that it did today, is bring them to one spot. And so I was just happy to be there and participate in that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman, and thanks for your attendance to that meeting. I've asked Councilman Frost to represent the city in matters dealing with American Fork Canyon, and he does a great job, so I appreciate that. Councilman Shelton.
Thanks, Mayor. I as well had the opportunity to attend that event with Councilman Frost, and just to echo his words as well, that there were many other state elected officials there. It was great to have everyone in one place that we could coordinate. It seems as if sometimes the difficulty is everyone has a small sliver of responsibility, and getting them together in the same, I don't know if you'd call that a room setting, but at least at the same site to be able to discuss things was good to be able to see, and the conversations that were had. I got a chance to talk with Walt Baker, I think, for about 20 minutes about a lot of different types of water quality issues, and so I appreciated the opportunity to do that. On the note of Still Days, we do have the final dates for Still Days for next year. It'll be July 6th to the 15th. I know that we have some agenda items later down the road that will discuss certain things about Still Days, but we're excited to be able to host that event again for the city and gearing up for the planning right now. So those that want to be involved, please feel free to volunteer and let me know, and we'd love to have you be a part of the team. The other thing is I had a chance to attend a luncheon with the mayor, Councilmember Frost, and Councilmember Barnes for the Chamber of Commerce. We had our new police chief that was there, who did a great job to further build ties with the community. I was really impressed with the question and answering phase of things and the quality of questions that were asked of our police chief, and his ability to be able to answer those pretty direct, as well as the event that you had with the Night Against Crime was also great, Chief, so thank you. Last item I wanted to do is share with you, scouts in the room might find this interesting. Usually the city has people approach, or scouts approach them about Eagle projects that they could be able to do. One young man wanted to use his talents in a unique way to do an Eagle project for the Chamber of Commerce, and he created a video that I'd like to share with you on behalf of the Chamber, and then I'll conclude my comments, Mayor.
Go right ahead. That's why it's there. See?
As the Chamber President, my role and responsibility is to direct and lead the American Fork City Chamber in helping our businesses grow as well. Businesses need networking opportunities to be able to get their name out, to increase sales, to get more exposure, and as a American Fork City Chamber President, it is my role and responsibility to they have those opportunities and goals and to meet, and we give them opportunities to network, meet other businesses as well as potential customers. That's what we see as our role and responsibility.
The city really thrives and it has a really good relationship between the residents and the business community. And as we can kind of bring those two areas together more and more, we have a thriving community.
Some of the benefits. Clearly it allows your voice to be magnified.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce looks for opportunities to help grow and help build the business and really the whole population community. In American Fork, there are a lot of small businesses, really businesses that are run from people's homes. And the Chamber strives to make those individuals, those groups, those businesses have a platform just like a large multi-million-dollar corporation. And so the chamber helps businesses and people grow and develop.
In addition to networking events and things like that, and some of the friendships and relationships that I've made have led to successful business deals.
Our challenge is to get our name out and to network with other individuals, both businesses as well as parents and students. And so the chamber was a way for us to be able to do that, is to be able to network and meet people and get our name across to a number of different agencies.
It's a good give and take relationship. We kind of support each other. It's been really great.
I think networking is a very crucial part in the success of a business. In my personal experience, it's been relationships that really make the business be able to thrive, and being in the right relationship.
Also, it gives us the opportunity to have a bigger voice as a business community. Gives us also the opportunity to serve the community through fundraisers and other activities that we do.
And I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. It's a great feeling to help someone and have them leaving with a happy face and having them speak kind words and say that they want to come back next time.
It allowed us to be able to sponsor events. It allowed us many other opportunities and be a vehicle by which we're able to get our name out and increase the potential number of students that came to us.
The biggest benefit that I think the bank receives is just being an opportunity for us to serve the community. For food drives, for golf tournaments, for the most recent one we did was for military veterans. We're able to be affiliated with those kinds of events, allows us an opportunity to really express what core values of the bank really are.
But the major plus that the chamber does for us and also for other businesses within the greater American Fork area is to allow another opportunity for us to advertise, to become a part of the chamber's operation.
I think it's a great community because it's nestled just towards the mountain here in Utah Valley. I think there's a lot of opportunities, and historically there was a lot of people commuting from our community up to Salt Lake to look for jobs and things of that nature. Excuse me, it's been great to see lately though how a lot of those businesses have relocated maybe from bigger cities into American Fork.
Thank you for that report, Councilman Shelton. I have asked Councilman Shelton to represent the city relative to the Chamber of Commerce. We have a very active and vibrant Chamber of Commerce. It's exciting for me because even the Costco store is a member of the American Fork Chamber of Commerce. Every time we have a ribbon cutting, there is a large sheet cake donated by Costco, and it has the corporate logo of that business on it. I'll mention in a moment my most recent experience with that. Councilman Shorter, your turn, sir.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Thank you. The mayor's report, last week we had the opportunity to do a ribbon cutting for Tabitha's Way, and there again, Costco delivered a large sheet cake with Tabitha's Way logo on it. Tabitha's Way is a food and clothing pantry for North Utah County. It's located on it would be about 980 East State Road in the building which was previously Covenant Recordings. They're in Suite 200. And they are filling a niche in our community for people that have needs with clothing and food. We're happy to represent them. I believe this concludes the mayor's report. We'll move on to the common consent agenda. The items for this evening's common consent include approval of the August 18th, 2016 work session minutes, approval of the August 23rd, 2016 city council minutes, approval of city bills for payment, manually prepared checks and purchase requests over $25,000, and approval of a progress release for the performance guarantee bond in the amount of $117,178.89 for Ken Garf Chevrolet, located at 1100 South, 500 East. Is there a motion to approve the common consent agenda as read?
Mayor, I would ask that we move the manually prepared checks vote to the regular agenda item, and that we vote on the remaining items.
I have a motion to move the manually prepared checks to the regular agenda item. Is there a motion to include everything else on the common consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Bowen. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Shorter. All in favor say aye. I beg your pardon. We are using the templates, the tab. Please use your tablets to vote for the amended motion. All right, very well. Motion carries. It's unanimous. We will move forward from there. Item 1 then on the agenda for this evening will be the manually prepared checks.
I just have some of these items that I don't really agree with. I don't have any questions necessarily on them. Just appreciate the opportunity to vote separately on them. I know at one point the city did have a finance committee that met kind of prior to council, and where they would actually discuss some of the city expenses. And I would urge you again, Mayor, to reconstitute that. I think it's beneficial to have kind of more of a formal check where these are gone through, even if it's just a group, rather than individually, to make sure these are receiving the proper scrutiny.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the city bills for payment, manually prepared checks, and purchase requests over $25,000 as presented.
And I'll second, Mayor.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none. Council, use your tablets to vote, please. Motion carries. Thank you. We're down to action agenda items. Item 1, review and action on a resolution declaring 2 sweepers to be surplus and to be traded in, and also declare other certain property to be surplus and to be disposed of. A public hearing was held at 7:20 this evening. We received no public comment regarding these items. I would ask, is there a motion to move to adopt the resolution declaring items to be surplus and be disposed of?
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Shorter. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Shelton. Any discussion on this motion?
I had just a little discussion on this one, Mayor. The sweepers, it looked like, had low miles. One was 15,000, one was 17,000. Was that an accurate printing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. One was 1997 and one's a 2004. I'm just wondering how much these cost to originally acquire.
They're in excess of $100,000. But the issue is not the amount of miles they travel, because they travel at less than 5 miles an hour to sweep on the streets. It's the brushes and the hoppers and the vacuum system that picks everything up off the street. And we have to rebuild those hoppers continually and to make them efficient. They still have some value in them, and so we're trading them in to get a new model that will be more efficient. And that's why we have the opportunity to do it, because of the miles on those.
The new one, I think. Well, I don't remember exactly. I was thinking it was around 500,000, but I could be wrong. I guess on the trade-in value that you were talking about too, we periodically vote to surplus items, and those are sold and the city receives revenue, is my understanding, or they're given to a state system where the state sells them, receives money, and then remits that to the city. Is there some place, Mayor, where we can see those funds coming back in the regular reports we receive?
I mean, when we have a surplus sale and there is something that is surplus?
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
I'd just be interested in how much we've recouped over the past few years.
All right. We have a new budget director starting tomorrow. I'll put that on his plate for future action.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I have a motion and a second. Council, please use your tablets to vote. Start us again, please, Terry Lynn. Here we go. Motion carries 4-1. Item 2, review and action on 2 water right transfers and bank agreements with Catalyst Development for the banking of 68 acre-feet on water right 553624 and 40 acre-feet of water right number 5512755. I have reviewed this with our contract attorney on water rights. This is something that is allowed under state law. We have a developer, the Catalyst, that brought in 100+ acres south of town. It is in a zone that will allow a lot of different uses, and until such time as those uses are identified, we will take that water and bank that water against those uses that this property will allow, until such time as all those water rights are consumed through the use or the growth necessary, at which time we will ask him to provide more water rights.
Mayor, well, I was going to make a motion. It just
Go ahead. I'm through.
Well, there it is. Mayor, move to authorize the mayor to sign the 2 water right transfers and banking agreements with Catalyst Development LLC.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Frost. Is there a second?
Just real quick, Nestor, are you the one that's going to be looking at this and controlling that with the water rights and tracking it and everything like that?
Yes, we have a software. It's called iWork, where we have a database, and we're going to keep track of the amount of water rights that are being dedicated and transferred to the city. In addition, every time we transfer an amount of water rights, the developer that will be receiving that water rights will require to meet with the city recorder, where the city recorder is going to sign that the water right is available, and then it's going to be part of the public record. So we're going to be keeping track of those numbers.
Great. Mayor, I'll second that motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any further questions?
I had just a little discussion, Mayor. I'm not opposed to banking water rights. I think it's good. I just, for the public that might not be aware, when someone comes in to develop a piece of property, a neighborhood or something like that, because they're tying into the city's water system and consuming water from the city, they're required to contribute to the system enough water shares to basically provide the water for those neighborhoods. And my understanding, Mayor, with this banking agreement is that rather than just deeding all of the water to the city up front, they put it in a bank, so to speak, an arrangement where instead of giving the city title immediately, the city gives them credits. They kind of put a deposit in, and it's kind of there on reserve, and the city gives them credits, and then as they develop stuff, they get these back. The reason I bring it up, Mayor, is just because if for some reason the developer didn't use all of the water rights, didn't require them all, they would retain ownership of the ones they didn't need. Is that correct?
That's not correct. The water is given to American Fork City, and we are now the owner of 108 acre-feet of water. If he doesn't use them all, we cannot refund him the water. And so it is there for the city to use, and we are not in the water selling business back to private individuals. And so this is what he's wanted to do. This is the first time I've seen this. The LDS Church at one time came to us and wanted to bank a lot of water. In their church farms on the south of the community, they have much more water than they have land to put it on, and the state engineer was after them because they couldn't show perpetual use of that much water, and they wanted us to bank it against future church buildings built in the community, and I didn't feel good about it, and I couldn't do it. But with our counsel, Nathan Bracken from Smith Hardvigson, he has given me a 1.5-page report on what part of the state law this falls under and how he thinks it's a good deal, and many other municipalities are doing this as a portion of development.
That's correct.
It protects us. I will state that Mr. Gallo is doing an admirable job. I've seen the spreadsheet that he has used. We've had people using water in our community for years and years that we haven't had an answer on how much they use. Woodbury Corporation for one on the development at the Meadows. Another one was a project called Mira Vista that, due to an untimely death of the developer or the project leader, Mina Pahela, it has changed hands several times since, and we've now got everything in Mira Vista correct up to the buildings that are presently built. And he has enough credit for 20 more dwelling units on Mira Vista. Now we're discussing how far he wants to go with his next phase of that, because he wants more than 20, but we've only got water rights for 20. So I'm very appreciative of Mr. Gallo and the job he's doing with the city to protect the city's interest in dealing with water rights.
So I guess my question then, Mayor, is just what's the benefit to the developer to bank these instead of just outright deeding them?
That's a really good question. Let's pretend that you are the developer and you own the water right. If you don't prove the beneficial use of that water right for 7 years, you are exposed to forfeiture of that water right. By transferring those water rights to the city, we change the beneficial use to municipal, which could be a broad range of uses, irrigation, for example. And we have 40 years to prove the beneficial use, and even if we expire those 40 years, we have the right to submit a 40-year plan where to prove the beneficial use of those water rights. So the main idea is for the developer, the main benefit is not to lose those water rights if he can develop the land more than 7 years.
So his credits don't expire, and it basically gives him a little more time.
If they
Yes.
belong to the city, they don't expire. We have 40 years to show them with growth. If he keeps them in his hand, he has to show perpetual use every year for 7 consecutive years. And it's pretty hard for him to show that he's using 108 acre feet down there for crop watering
There's
or for
nothing there.
drinking or for irrigating row crops or whatever he's
Yep.
doing, you know? So that's why he wants to give that water to the city, because then it becomes the city's burden to prove it, not his.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a motion and a second regarding the banking of the water for Catalyst Development. Would the council please vote using your tablets, please? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Review and action on an ordinance amending Figure 17.5.115, the American Fork City Development Code, entitled Tall Fence Positioning Requirements. This has gone through our Planning Commission. There's been some discussion on this. If there are questions asked, we have the chair of the Planning Commission, and we have our senior planner here, Adam Olson. They'll be happy to answer your questions. This received a favorable comment from the Planning Commission, and they brought it forward for us to approve.
Adam, could you just summarize what the change is from the old code to the new code, just kind of in a nutshell?
Yeah, until this came forward, if you were on a corner lot, your fence could only go 10 feet from the sidewalk. It couldn't go all the way to your property line. What this does is this allows the ability for the fence to be put to the property line or to the sidewalk, provided that if the adjacent home, if their driveway is more than 10 feet away, then it could, they could have the 6-foot fence. If it's closer than 10 feet, then the fence has to drop down to, I believe it's 36 inches for an area that's determined by engineering to be a clear sight area. So this is what it does. It allows greater use of your property if you're on a corner lot. The Planning Commission looked at it, made a favorable recommendation, and this will benefit a number of people that have come in and asked about this type of provision.
Question on that. As I read it, this applies, if you're on a corner lot, that means your house is facing one direction.
Mm-hmm.
This only applies to the fence on the side of the house.
Correct. It's just the
Just
corner
the
lot
s-
fencing,
just
yeah,
s-
the side.
The side. It doesn't apply to the front.
No, the front's not changing. That's always been flush with the house.
That's
This is just
still-
on the side.
Okay, and then I think you answered my other question. It said property line, and you said in the comments, property line or sidewalk. Is it generally the same thing, the sidewalk? So I'm thinking of a house in particular where they've gone right to the sidewalk.
In many instances, it really depends on where in the city. Some areas, the property line does go to the sidewalk. In some areas, it's a foot behind the sidewalk.
There was a period of time in the city when the building code allowed for a 5-foot sidewalk in front of my house. We have a 5-foot sidewalk, and the property line begins at back a walk. Other areas, 4-foot sidewalk, and property begins a foot back a sidewalk. It just depends on what was common during the time of those buildings. Yes, sir. You bet. Easy to bring up, because we show property lines on every plat the city owns. Bring it up and see where the property line is in relationship to it.
So this allows fences where they couldn't, would it be safe to summarize this as saying it would allow fences to be built that the current code wouldn't allow to be built?
Correct.
But also retains the safety provision of not blocking sight?
Yeah, if someone's driveway was right behind the fence, yeah, there's a provision in there. So, yeah, it allows greater use of the property as far as fencing goes, but there are the safety provisions so that we're not intentionally creating an unsafe condition.
Thanks.
Mayor, I just want to clarify one point. There is, the way that this reads, to address Councilman Lawrence's question, this would be the fence can be located on the property line or 1 foot off of the sidewalk, whichever is greater. So if the property does abut the sidewalk, they would still have to give the 1 foot area from the sidewalk. The way that this reads as it is now.
Whichever is greater, meaning,
So if the property line goes up to the sidewalk, they have to give at least 1 foot away from the sidewalk. The purpose of that being riding bikes or walking.
Pushing a
is
stroller or something that
the
nature.
greater means greater distance from the,
Right.
from the sidewalk. Okay. I didn't know if it meant that or from the house or where it meant. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Counselor.
John, did you guys look at that at all and have any discussion on that 1 foot requirement?
Yes, we talked about it.
We talked about it, and it's like the mayor was saying, it depends on what part of the city you're in. My house, it goes a foot back of the sidewalk when I built my house in '76. And this has been before the Board of Adjustment several times lately, and that's why this has come forward in the first place, is it's been a major confusion factor in the city.
I just look at other places where we have that 1 foot area and it becomes an eyesore. Because how do you maintain 1 foot
Well, it's just
in
that
front of a
the
6
end
foot
fence
fence?
post is just a foot back of the
Right.
sidewalk. You can't tell that it's who it belongs to the property, because it's all just part of the front yard or the side yard.
I guess I'm talking about the grass and the weeds and things
Yeah.
that grow. It's hard to maintain that 1 foot if you put it right up against the sidewalk and you're able to pour the concrete 6 inches versus going a full 18 inches. It's a lot different. Is what I've
Yeah, it
noticed.
could be a
but-
maintenance problem, but it doesn't seem to be. It's been more of an issue with the Board of Adjustments trying to figure out where to put the, how high a fence you could have, how close to the sidewalk.
Sure. Okay.
Like they
When
said
I
about-
put my fence in, I put it a foot back of sidewalk and then cemented that. Actually ended up being about 8.5 inches between the existing edge of sidewalk and the center line of the fence. So I give them their 12 inches, but it's the center line of the fence, so. And we didn't have weeds.
I agree with Councilman Sheldon. I'm thinking of some of those houses west of you, John, across from Shelley's on the south side of 7th North. It's actually their back fence that is roughly a foot away from the sidewalk. And it's trash in most of those cases because they don't have water going to it and they don't mow it or take care of it. And I'm not criticizing them. I don't blame them at all. I'm not opposed to the ordinance, but I think it does have a little problem there. And I think the other problem with this is we're going to get in the proverbial spitting contest of whether it's really 1 foot or not, and do I get to go clear to the sidewalk, and why does my neighbor get to go clear, has to come back a foot. I understand it's defined and everything. For me, it would just be easier if it was just to the sidewalk, period, but I understand it cannot be.
The
that
foot
way.
back of sidewalk has been a safety issue a number of years ago on what we now call Temple Hill. That was before the temple was built. Then it was known as Mary Pulley Hill. On the west side of that, there was a sidewalk, and the fence was put right next to the sidewalk. Young man riding his bicycle, handlebars caught in a chain link fence. He did a head over heels and had to have extensive work done on his jaw and his teeth because his mouth was the first thing that made contact with the concrete. We had this issue with the city's liability insurance provider. The sidewalk is city property. In that case, the city was found liable and we paid, and therefore the verbiage is in there for a foot back of sidewalk because it is a safety issue. Whether the mother is pushing a stroller or whether it's the youngster riding the bicycle or pulling a wagon or whatever else, that 1 foot becomes a safety issue with liability insurance.
Mayor, I'll move to adopt the ordinance amending figure 17.5.115 of the American Fork City Development Code.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Shelton. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Frost. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, council, will you take your tablets and vote, please? Motion passes with 4 votes in favor of. Item 4, review and action on subdivisions, commercial projects, condominiums, and planned unit developments, including 1, plat approval, 2, method of satisfaction of water rights requirements, 3, posting of an improvement bond on settling of a time frame for improvement installation, and 4, authorization to sign the final plat and acceptance of all dedications to the public and to have the plat recorded. We have 2 such projects this evening. Number A, review and action on an ordinance approving an amended commercial site plan for the Doug Smith Kia Automobile Dealership located at 523 West Main Street in the SC1 Planned Shopping Center Zone. This has gone before the Planning Commission as well. There was some discussion with the neighborhood. They held a public meeting, and it got the recommendation of the Planning Commission to move this project forward. In a nutshell, Mr. Smith is adding to the Kia dealership to add maintenance bays and a car wash for his dealership. Are there council questions on this item?
Mayor, I'll move to approve the, waiting for the monitor to catch up here.
There you are.
I motion to adopt the ordinance approving a commercial site plan for the Doug Smith Kia Automobile Dealership located at 523 West Main Street in the SC1 Planned Shopping Center Zone, with instructions to the city with recorder to withhold publication of the ordinance subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the August 17th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Bowen. Is there a second? Seconded from Councilman Barnes. Any question on this motion? Hearing none, I will ask the council to vote using your tablets, please. Okay, it looks like we've timed out. Terry, you want to cancel it? We'll start over again, please. Okay, here we go. There we are. Has everybody voted? Okay. It must be the rain, Terry Lynn. Blame it on the weather. Has everybody voted again? Okay. Maybe my truck's getting washed, you think? Just up to spot. All right, we waited long enough. I'll take a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, it's unanimous. Item B, review and action on an ordinance approving an amended site plan for the American Fork City Recreation Center located at 454 North Center Street in the PF Public Facility Zone. The city is like any other property owner or developer. Anytime the site plan changes, it has to come before this body for approval. As you can see in the area that has previously been the horseshoe pits, we now are adding parking spaces. And this is the addendum to that site plan that Councilman Barnes talked about earlier in the meeting, and Mr. Reichert is here to answer a plethora of questions that you may have.
Oh, I wish I had a bunch. I just think it's great, Mayor, that the city, unlike many commentary here, unlike many places in the federal government, the city has to abide by the rules that it passes for all of its citizens and businesses and everything else. So I think it's great that we do this, and I think the Scouts are still here. I think you need to understand that. Have your leader explain that concept to you some other time. But the city passes laws, and they have to obey those laws, and that I think is good.
It can't be like the president and I invoke a executive order and pass it, see? We have to comply by the same rules everybody else in the city does.
Mayor, I'd move to adopt the ordinance approving an amended site plan for the American Fork City Recreation Center located at 454 North Center Street in the PF Public Facility Zone with instructions to the city recorder to withhold publication of the ordinance subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the August 17th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting.
Thanks for that motion, Councilman Shorter. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Shelton. Any questions on this motion?
Just a comment, Mayor. I was also going to say I think it's great that we're adding more parking to the rec center. I think that that's been needed probably for a long time. So I think that's great that you've moved forward with that. Thank you.
Hearing no other motions, I'll ask the council to move forward with your vote. Please use your tablets to vote. You're still not up? Okay, I again will call for a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, it's unanimous. Item 5, review action on a contract with Fireworks West International for the 2017 Steel Days Fireworks Show. I will mention with this that there were one small change that was requested by our legal counsel, and if I can find it again in the agreement, buyer agrees to indemnify the city of any civil action associated with negligent or willful acts of the buyer for the handling, storage, or use or sale of the merchandise, including court costs and attorney's fees. Seller will be responsible for the neglect or willful acts of the seller, its officers, agents, and contracts, and will indemnify the buyer of any civil action resulting from the negligence. That change to that contract met the legal counsel's request. So we have then the contract for the fireworks for the Steel Days show. I would ask someone to make a motion to approve the contract with Fireworks West International for the 2017 Steel Days Fireworks Show.
Mayor, I'd move to approve the contract with the Fireworks West International for the 2017 Steel Days Fireworks Show.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Frost. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Shorter. Any questions on this motion?
Just a comment. I appreciate our council looking out for the city's interests. My understanding is that before the change, the people selling us the fireworks were basically asking us to potentially be responsible for damage caused by their negligence. And the proposed change by council, which is incorporated into this agreement, according to what I understand at this time, would make it so that the city's only responsible for negligence on the city's part, and the fireworks seller and vendor is responsible for any negligence on their part.
That's correct.
So thank you for that. Also, I understand that the fireworks display includes more than 2 years ago.
More than any other year, I think, Brad. Is that Fair to say. So we'll try to keep the reputation of having one of the best fireworks shows, and it only was $34 more to be able to do that. So we got a really good deal this time around. I think it'd be great to execute the contract.
Thank you. Council, would you use your tablets to vote, please? We back online, Terry?
Our tablets are still up on the Doug Smith vote, so we might want to just do voice votes.
All right. In the essence of time, I will call for a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 6, review and action on the award of the contract for the 2016 sanitary sewer capital improvement projects to Nolan and Son Construction Company. Your packet included a large packet of papers. It included what we are looking to upsize in the central part of our community, where we have a choke point involving the sewer. And this is a major outfall line that goes through the business development down there, as well as the Seven Seas Trailer Park. We have the approval to upsize this, and we have a very good bid from Nolan and Son, and we would ask that you favorably consider this action.
Mayor, I'd move to accept the bid submitted by Nolan and Son Construction Company for the construction of the 2016 sanitary sewer capital improvements project in the amount of $477,336 plus a 10% contingency of $47,733.60 for a total of $525,069.60, and authorize staff to proceed with the preparation of the contract documents.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Shorter. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Councilman Frost. Any questions on this motion?
Mayor, I was wondering if you could just tell us real quickly what we get with this. Basically, we're taking an existing sewer line and increasing the size.
We're taking an existing 12-inch sewer line and making it 18 inches. We're not digging up through that property. We are going from manhole to manhole and bursting the existing sewer pipe, pulling through an HDPE or a heavy-duty, large, flexible plastic pipe, and then we're coming back through and installing the laterals in each one of those locations. So rather than having a large down the middle of the property, we'll have a smaller hole where the lateral is reconnected to the larger pipe.
And in this case, it's not necessarily pipe is aged and deteriorating. It is
capacity.
It's
a number of
capacity.
years ago, we took this across State Street and went down through Columbia Village. This is our west side feeder line to the TSSD large line.
So rather than deterioration, this gives us a bigger pipe, which we need.
It is at capacity now. And I just want to say that since we've been involved with the sewer, we TV every foot of city sewer every year. For the past 6 years, we have not had any sewer backups where we've had to put against the city's insurance to pay for a mess in someone's basement because of this kind of work. And so that's why I think it's important to continue our capital improvement programs. The sewer being a enterprise fund, we have the money to pay for these improvements through the fees that are charged for the sewer. Okay?
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions on this motion? Hearing none, I will call for a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Unanimous vote. Item 7 is consideration and action into entering into a closed session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation and the professional character and competence of individual. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
So moved, Mayor.
Have a motion by Councilman Frost. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Shelton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We will relocate downstairs to the workroom. I would ask legal counsel if you will join us, please, and also Dr. Tamakis, our HR representative, if you join us as well, please. Thank you. We will terminate tonight's council meeting from that location at the conclusion of our meeting. Thank you.